Hello everyone, my name is Halvey. In this video we're going to be seeing if it's possible to beat Fire Emblem the Sacred Stones using just Eirika and Ephraim. I'm playing this on difficult mode to get the most challenge out of this. As for the rules, we're just going to say that only Eirika and Ephraim are the only ones who are going to be damaging and defeating enemies. You'll see me move around other units when they're like force deployed on maps just to get them out of the way. This first prologue, there's not much to say. It's kind of like RNG. I think Eirika just needs to dodge like one of those attacks from one of those first two fighters. Then you can just heal her up with a vulnerary and it's simple enough then. Chapter 1, I just moved Seth out of the way along with Gilliam and Franz just to get them out of the way. And then Eirika can just fight the enemies, just stay in this forest and then just really take out the enemies pretty easily. I get her healed up there and then just kind of move Seth out of the way again. Then these reinforcements show up, so I just move Eirika onto the fort and she does a pretty good job taking them out. Then she can just take out these soldiers one by one and just make sure she's good. She'll heal up and she can just one round the boss of this chapter, and then we seize. Then into chapter 2, I just go ahead and move Eirika down to attack these brigands, and then Ross and Garcia kind of just do their own thing as green units. I don't recruit them or do anything with them, so I just kind of keep Eirika around on the fort and the armory for actually avoid. Then I gotta move like the other units, like kind of mess them around, rescue, and try to get them out of the way so they don't get attacked by the brigands. But Eirika can get those two villages pretty good, and then she just finishes off the rest of them. Then going into chapter 3, I just kind of break down this wall. Calm's gonna just do what he wants to do, opening chests and doors, and he'll just kind of like do nothing then towards the end of the chapter. But Eirika can pretty much handle the enemies here, and then I just kind of move everybody else out of the way. And then really Eirika just handles most of the enemies, or well, all the enemies here, and then she really has no problems. She just kind of heals as needed, and then she kind of takes a couple turns to beat the boss, but she eventually does it, and she reaches level 12 pretty quick here. Then this chapter, chapter 4, is when I first had a game over. Eirika just got kind of surrounded by too many enemies. I tried to be a little more careful then on the second playthrough of this chapter. I just gotta kind of make sure Ardor's out of the way. I have no weapon equipped on him, so he will get attacked here later on, but he doesn't like do any damage back to the enemies, so it's not really a big deal, I don't think. But Eirika can hold her own against most of these enemies as long as she stays in forest and heals herself up occasionally. Yeah, here's Ardor getting attacked, but I got him no weapons on him, so he's good. And then Eirika just kind of takes out all the enemies. Then as she's making her way down towards the rest of the enemies, as soon as you cross this bridge, I believe it's like a zone base for reinforcements that'll show up way up at the northern part of the map. Then they're just gonna make their way down, and I'm just getting Ardor out of the way, and then Eirika will just take out all of these revenants here. Eirika does pretty well in these early chapters as long as she stays in the forest or just any kind of tile that gives her good avoid, and she can just heal up with vulneraries. And really there's not much else to these early maps really. Eirika can easily just take out the enemies. Here she gets up to level 16 already after chapter 4. Now going to chapter 5, I wanted to make sure I get this dragon shield in this house over here, and then I just moved Natasha into the corner off to the side, but she'll get attacked anyway, and then there's not really much I can do about that, and she's gonna die, so it doesn't really matter to me. She can't attack enemies, so it's not a big deal I don't think for this run. And then Eirika's just gonna take out these enemies, staying in the forest as always, just to make sure that she can survive. The brigands are gonna go around and destroy all the other villages, but I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think there's really that many good items in them. And then I'm just gonna, for this map, I'm just going to go around this left side here and just avoid Joshua altogether, because he doesn't move unless you get into his range, and I figure it's best to just avoid him. He has a killing edge, which can be very dangerous. So just like going over Eirika as a unit, she's very frail. She has pretty low HP overall and very low defenses. However, she's very fast. She's kind of like a Myrmidon. She has a lot of skill and speed, not a lot of strength though, and she already capped in level 20 this early. Next chapter is the Ephraim and his gang chapter. So this is our first look at Ephraim. Here I just move Orson, Kyle, and Ford like just as far away from the enemies as possible so they don't get attacked. And this is a very slow chapter. Really, I just try to slowly take out the enemies with Ephraim. He has pretty limited access to like weapons, although I do get these two chests because they're good items, an elixir and a killer lance in them. And then I'm just kind of making my way up the map, bringing Orson, Kyle, and Ford along with to act as like storage basically. They can hold some weapons and then they'll have to trade over some weapons weapons to give to Ephraim soon here. But you can see Ephraim's just taking out all the enemies with really no problems as long as he heals up occasionally. Ephraim is just a much better unit than Eirika, as he has lances and has access to javelins and other better 1 to 2 range weapons, whereas there's really no options for 1 to 2 range with swords that Eirika uses. But that chapter was easy enough, just very slow and long. Then the next chapter is back to Eirika. I can just have her stay in the mountains there for a good part of the map to take out a lot of the enemies. Then I just kind of try to make my way towards the boss just to end this chapter. This is a defeat boss map, so as soon as you defeat the boss, you can just end the chapter, as I do right here. Then the next chapter is another one, easy enough that Eirika can just kind of run through and defeat enemies as she goes. Like, obviously the mages and archers are really annoying because they attack her at 2 range and she can't counter at 2 range, but I kind of ignore a lot of them and just kind of make my way towards the boss as fast as possible, because all you have to do here is just kill the boss and then seize the gates, and that's really just easy enough. This next chapter we get Ephraim back, and as well as Kyle and Ford, but I kind of just keep them out of the fighting. But really I just want to kind of get Ephraim and Eirika to like kind of join up here so that they can just kind of work together to defeat the enemies. I want to get started building their support. They have a pretty good support. When it finally reaches A rank, they will have +3 attack, +1 defense, +15 hits, +7 avoid, and +15 crit. So overall it's a pretty good support. Not the best, but definitely not bad for the 2 lords in this game. So I just work the 2 of them up the left side of the map, defeating the enemies along the way, trying to give Ephraim most of the kills, most of the experience, because Eirika is already capped out, of course. So then defeating the rest of these enemies is pretty easy. I kind of just bait them out and then finish them off. There are a lot of reinforcements in this map that kind of slow things down, but it's not really too bad. But I just kind of finish them off and get Ephraim experience. Then I have Ephraim kill the boss. He really has no trouble with that, and Ephraim is capped as well. Now, even before the route split, both of the lords are capped. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Ephraim. This might seem strange because Ephraim does have the more challenging route. However, like I said before, he is the better unit overall. Eirika's route, I actually did try to go to Eirika's route first. However, I ended up getting stuck in chapter 12. Eirika's biggest weakness is her lack of 1 to 2 range, which is Ephraim's like greatest strength. When you're soloing entire maps, access to 1 to 2 range is incredibly important. Specifically in chapter 12 of Eirika's route, there's a lot of gargoyles and they have javelins or just 2 range weapons, and she just gets overwhelmed, and even staying in like forest tiles, she just still gets overwhelmed by those gargoyles and they end up taking her out. So I gave up on Eirika's route and just went over to Ephraim's route, and Ephraim's route is very challenging. It is easier because of just how Ephraim can solo these maps much easier. As we see in this map, Ephraim really didn't have any problems aside from that sleep staff. Other than that though, he really had no problems. Now going into chapter 10, this chapter is pretty easy because all you really have to do is fight off the initial enemies here, and then Dusel and his group will take out a lot of other enemies and also like attract their attention. I don't really concern myself with the villages in this chapter. The biggest probably threat in this map is Cormag. Cormag has quite a high crit rate against Ephraim. However, we take him out easy enough though. Luckily I did not get crit by Cormag, otherwise that would have made this chapter a lot harder. We also only face a lot of sword and lance enemies. Dusel takes on most of the axe enemies in this map, and also this map is just a survive. Then next came the Phantom Ship chapter. This is a very tough chapter, as you saw in the little death compilation I put in the beginning there. Ephraim, there's just a lot of enemies in this chapter, and the Fog of War also just adds to the difficulty of this chapter. We do get a little help from La Rochelle and her gang, or well, just Dazla, but the biggest challenge of this map was just not taking on too many enemies in one turn. That way I could heal with an elixir every turn really and just take out enemies on enemy phase. And that's really what Ephraim does best because of his access to javelins, 1 to 2 range weapons. He can just take out enemies on enemy phase. And it's very important that a character or a unit can do that if they're going to be soloing an entire map or an entire game. Then the next chapter, this one isn't that difficult as long as I take it slow and not get overwhelmed by enemies. This chapter lacks a lot of defensive terrain, making me much more vulnerable to taking hits, meaning that I'll have to heal more often, and which is another thing about this run. My only options for healing are vulneraries, elixirs, and healing tiles like forts and gates. But there are just a lot of enemies in this map, lots of reinforcements that'll really come, after you. And really I just had to kind of move around, making sure I don't get attacked by too many enemies in the same turn. So as this is going on, I guess I'll talk a little bit about what stuff I cut out. I just cut out all of the world map movement, going around from shops, buying equipment and whatnot. I just cut all that out. Really didn't think it was important to keep or to show in the run at all. And you also see there's a lot of times I'll cut out just when I'm in the maps where I'm going into my convoy and just getting items out and stuff. I'll be cutting out a lot of that as well. Also, I don't know why, but I played with this run with animations on, and I just ended up cutting out all the animations except for a few boss fights here and there. But we finally make our way up to the boss here, and the boss is just a Cyclops, and he kind of goes down really pretty easily enough. No problems really. Alright, this next map was pretty tough. It only took me one try, but I had to be cautious here, really take my time. Garrick and Tethys, I just kind of put all their inventory into the convoy, and then I just kind of let them, just hang out, and they'll both just get taken out by the enemies. There's, nothing I can do about that since they are forced kind of deployed on this map. But one thing about this map is that it is a kind of introduction to Ephraim's biggest weakness, and that is his resistance stat and just his vulnerability to magic attacks and status staves. He can do a good job at fighting these, physical enemies, but then eventually we're gonna have to approach Selena here, and she has a bolting tome. So we have to get Ephraim at least onto a forest here to at least give him some extra avoid, so that hopefully he can dodge the bolting. And this troubadour has a sleep staff. I do make good use of pure waters in this run, as that's really all I can do. So a lot of times I just really have to sit and wait for enemies, a lot of siege weapons. But once that's all over, I can start to move in and clear out more of these enemies. This map is a route chapter, which is rather annoying because it would be so much easier if I could just go and defeat Selena. Defeat boss chapters and seize and survive chapters are so much better than route chapters, and especially since I'm capped out already. So that's the thing. Ephraim capped out so early that having to do routes is just so unnecessary. And again in this chapter, I just had to ignore the villages, let them get destroyed. Not much I could have done about that using just Ephraim. But this chapter will be over soon enough, just one more enemy. Now we're at chapter 14, where we finally enter Great Oak Keep and confront Emperor Vigard. This chapter was really not that hard, though it did take me 2 tries. The problem with this chapter is that really early on this first half of the map, there are a lot of reinforcements, and Ephraim can just get surrounded, really overwhelmed. Then once you get closer to these doors up here, there is a sleep and a berserk staff both on both sides. So there's 2 sleep staves and 2 berserk staves in total in this map, and Ephraim just gets berserk here early on. However, luckily enough, he doesn't get himself killed, and he also does a pretty good job of dodging the sleep staves. Then I go ahead and enter this room with the chest here because I want to get some of this treasure. There's a lot of gold, and then as soon as you open that, these shamans will spawn. There's quite a bit of them, but Ephraim can handle them pretty well as long as he heals and uses pure waters. Then we'll go around to the other side here and really just want to take out as many enemies here, these knights that are guarding the door, as well as try to take out these snipers and archers with longbows that are really annoying. Ephraim gets berserked yet again, and I'm just kind of just soaking up this berserk and sleep staff, and then I'll go around to the other side again to the room and take out that final longbow archer, get rid of this berserk staff, and then I'll finally open this door, and as soon as I do, all of these mages and shamans are going to come after me, and Ephraim can't handle all of them, at least not all at once. So all I had to do here is really just kind of retreat a little bit each turn so that I can take out just a couple, just like 1, 2, or 3 of them each turn until finally I can just kind of, boost my resistance with pure waters and I can just kind of take the rest of them out. Then finally there's one room left which also spawns some reinforcements as soon as you open it, but these guys are easy enough as I can take them out, and then I just pull these druids one at a time because if they would both attack Ephraim, he would get killed. Then I just take care of those priests and then get ready for a very slow fight with the guard. As I am running out of weapons, my Regan Leaf breaks and then I resort to using a Killer Lance, which misses a lot. This guy also likes to proc his Great Shield skill, which negates damage and also makes like a weapon usage run out, so it's even more annoying in that way. However, right before I'm about to completely run out of weapons though, Ephraim finally finishes them off, and then we can seize, and that is Ephraim's route completed. Then in chapter 15 here, you'll see in this little death compilation that I failed twice, I believe, because this chapter actually turned out to be pretty tough. There are a lot of enemies in this chapter that are kind of split up between Eirika's group and Ephraim's group, although since I'm only using Eirika and Ephraim, that leaves like a lot of enemies that each of them will have to deal with. So I really start out by just getting rid of Eirika's weapons and just giving them to, I think, Innes, and then I just discard Innes's bow and Sala's magic so that they don't damage any enemies. Then they kind of just die. But what was really important in this chapter was to get rid of Eirika's weapons and put her on that gate, because as you can see on that gate, she's just getting attacked by 1 or 2 enemies each turn. This was really the key to her survival on this chapter, even though in the death compilation saw Ephraim was the one dying. Still though, Eirika would most certainly have died if she had a weapon and was fighting these enemies and killing them, because of the fact that she wasn't facing like 0% hit rates or anything like that. These enemies had a chance to, especially the mages, had a chance to like hit her, and if she got attacked too much and like killed too many enemies, then they would have definitely overwhelmed her and just wore her out in like one enemy phase. So Ephraim can take out his side of the enemies easily enough. This isn't where he was like dying in those previous attempts. It takes quite a while to take out Walter, and Walter actually procced Pierce, and that almost was enough to kill Ephraim, but not quite. And then here we're just kind of slowly pulling some of these enemies away from Eirika into Ephraim's attack range so that he can take them out one at a time really, or 1 or 2 at a time. But we definitely don't want Ephraim to take too many hits in one enemy turn. But here you can see they go down pretty quickly once Ephraim starts to come up, and then now we can have Eirika and Ephraim join back up together again. And then what I do here is just kind of work my way around the map. I try to get some of the hidden items. I get the boots, and then we take out this berserker, and I think I get Menace's Tome, and I go ahead and use the boots on Ephraim, and I think I use the Menace's Tome on Eirika. Then I go ahead and raise their support one more level, that it's at B rank. And then one more hidden item I get down here is the body ring that I believe I give to Eirika. I think, yeah, she's gonna go ahead and use that. And then all we really gotta do left in this map is slowly take out these enemies, carefully take them out that are surrounding Kellic. And then once it's just Kellic left, I just send Eirika to deal with him really, because he uses an axe. So Eirika can have the better chance of defeating him, and she does. Now get ready for the longest death compilation of the run. This was chapter 16, which really isn't that difficult of a chapter casually, but for this run it was hell. So what makes this chapter so difficult? Well, later on there's going to be specifically 2 reinforcements. There's going to be 2 sages. One of them has a purge tome and the other has a sleep staff. So what happens is one of the two, Eirika or Ephraim, will get put to sleep, and then the purge guy comes in and like deals like half of their health down, and then other enemies will just come in and pick them off and kill them. So what I had to do is just kind of take my time. Early on in the map here, there are a lot of enemies that I can just kind of take my time and defeat. However, there's this berserk priest there that I just defeat before he can, berserk me, which is nice. Then here we're just gonna really take our time, heal ourselves up, make sure we're prepared, because these guys are zone-based reinforcements. As soon as we cross a line that's like 4 spaces up here and like approach Orson's throne room, it's gonna spawn the reinforcements. If Ephraim would go any further, would trigger the reinforcements. Okay, so we're gonna trigger the reinforcements here. We're gonna just go for it. And this also causes a lot of enemies to move as well. Then here we're just gonna see what there's those 2 sages. We're checking their ranges here, and we're just gonna kind of retreat. Eirika comes pretty close to dying here, fighting these mercenaries and this warrior. And there you can see she almost died. But really just took a lot of luck here that I dodged the sleep staff and the purge tomes, and yeah, it just took a lot of luck. There's also just reinforcements that come at you from the south as well that make things just so much more difficult. So I just want to retreat here, use some pure waters, get onto these pillars, because that's really the only defensive terrain in this entire map. I've tried a lot of different things, but really it just comes down to luck. I can finally destroy that purge guy and then just pick off the rest of these enemies. Eirika does get put to sleep, but at this point it's fine. And now finally we got rid of these guys and we can take out the rest of these enemies. Luckily those druids did not attack Ephraim at like 2 range with their like Nosferatus. Luckily they stuck to their eclipse stones, because otherwise if they just ganged up on him with the Nosferatus, he would have easily died. Orson's pretty tough boss. I try to use Eirika, but she's not really doing much, so I just gotta get lucky with Ephraim, and luckily he gets a crit here to kill Orson. And finally that chapter is over. That one was tough. Then finally after this chapter, Ephraim and Eirika both promote. They get really good stat bonuses from their promotions. This was probably the biggest challenge of the run, was just how Ephraim and Eirika's promotions are locked behind story progression. Now you'll see after they promote, things go much more smoothly. And then in this chapter, I really just have to take my time. There's a lot of enemies in this chapter, and also the green units all just kind of get killed. Not much I can do about that. It really doesn't matter anyway. But then what we're going to do here is just wait out a lot of these enemies. We're going to put Ephraim and Eirika in these mountains just so they have the best possible avoidance, and then slowly but surely they will take out all the enemies. Lots of reinforcements and enemies in this map. And then unfortunately Eirika, even after promotion, is still only a sword unit, so she cannot counter magic users at 2 range and just anything really at 2 range, which is quite troublesome. So really all I can do on this map is just wait out all these enemies and just kill them all, which really isn't a bad thing though, because I am getting experience now once again now that they're promoted. But once that side is all taken care of, all that on the left side, then we can finally make our way towards Leon. And then, but first we're just going to kill all the enemies though, just for that experience. And then there's also going to be some warrior reinforcements here that will get lots of experience from. I believe Eirika and Ephraim both are going to end this chapter at level 8. Now we can finally take on Leon. Really, he's not a problem at all. He's not that tough of a boss. He does have a lot of defense, but otherwise he's quite an easy boss. Ephraim just going to crit him here and just take care of him pretty easily. Ephraim reaches a level 8. Next is this volcano map. It's a nice little monster den here, specifically like a Gorgon nest, because that's really the gimmick of this map, is these monster eggs that you're seeing. The gimmick is that they will recover like 5 hit points on each turn, and then once it reaches like full 100%, they hatch into Gorgons. So the strategy for this chapter is just to try to take out these eggs as fast as possible before before they can all hatch. However, the problem is that I only have Eirika and Ephraim, only 2 units to try to take out like all these eggs. So what ends up happening is that a lot of them are going to hatch, and there's really nothing I can do about it. And especially the problem is with Eirika's lack of 2 range, these Gorgons are just going to prioritize her as well as the Moguls, and these Gorgons are also troublesome in that they have this 3 range stone spell that can turn you to stone. Luckily though, the hit rate is pretty bad on that, and I don't end up getting turned to stone at all. They also have Shadow Shot, which is a 3 to 10 range spell that can really be annoying, but this chapter really not that hard though. It's just kind of slow, tedious. It's a route map which I don't like. Next, chapter 19 is the chapter where we have to defend Ralston Castle from Reeve and his army of Grado soldiers that are like remnants or something. So we just have to survive for 13 turns for this map. As you saw early on, I just rescued Mansell because we have to defend Mansell and the throne. So what I do is rescue Mansell with Ephraim, put Ephraim on the throne, and then I can just have Eirika around within the support range of Ephraim. And early on, you saw all the green units just get killed, which kind of helps because they just kind of attract the enemies for at least the first few, like 4 or 5 turns. There are treasures in this map, but obviously I'm not going to be getting them at all. There are enemy thieves that will take them from me, but really all this chapter is just guarding the throne. This was like my first idea to beat this chapter, and probably the best idea, because there was no way that Eirika and Ephraim could really leave the area of the throne and trust that Mansell would survive. So there's just a lot of enemies in this map, lots of reinforcements, and the 2 of them are just kind of getting surrounded and just kind of defeating enemies as they come. Of course, a lot of archers, a lot of mages, a lot of 2 range weapons in general. Eirika just gets stuck not really being able to do anything on like enemy phase, but this chapter is over soon enough. Chapter 20, like many of the other maps, is going to have a lot of enemies, a lot of reinforcements, but it is a siege map. So all we have to do is defeat the boss and then seize the gate. So I try to take the shortest route possible to get to the boss and the gate, which ends up being pretty easy. There are a lot of enemies with 1 to 2 range weapons that obviously causes problems for Eirika. Although once I make it past these mountains here, I can start to make some real progress. You know, I move Ephraim way up into the map here and attract Reeve, and then we're just going to go ahead and finish off Reeve here. He's not really a tough boss. Ephraim reaches level 17, and I believe Eirika will also reach level 17. But then we kind of get surrounded here. You know, Eirika just can't do anything against these guys with 2 range. They just love to go after her, and we just can't really do much. Although we do make a little bit of progress each turn. These Moguls that come out as reinforcements are really annoying. Their Eirika reaches her level 17. The boss is really not a problem. Sieglinde, as being effective against monsters, takes this guy out in 1 round of combat. And then all Ephraim has to do is seize. Ephraim has to seize since I had to go with his route. Eirika can't seize. Now we're finally into the final chapter. This first part of the final chapter is really kind of easy. We just really have these struggles, like always, that the enemies with 1 to 2 range will always like to go after her, but really we're just kind of trying to cut a path up to Leon here, because all we have to do here is defeat Leon, and then this first part of the final chapter will be over. So really we're just kind of setting ourselves up here. Ephraim reaches level 19, and I believe Eirika is also going to reach level 19, or maybe she did already. There she is. Yeah, level 19. That's basically going to be their final levels then for the run, but Leon goes down pretty easily. All it takes is 1 round of combat from Eirika, and then Ephraim can go ahead and finish it in 1 round of combat. So easy enough there. Now we'll go ahead and show off their final stats here, as well as the Demon Kings, and all I really have to do here is just surround the Demon King here. He's going to spend his first turn to summon some monsters, but they're not really a problem since they don't move that same turn. And the Demon King is kind of a sad boss. He's pretty weak because Eirika and Ephraim can just gang up here and like 2 round him, and that's the run. It is definitely totally possible to beat Sacred Stones using only Ephraim and Eirika. So if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.